Hey, what's up, guys? Blunt Guts here. This is a Watch Over Realms video. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. I really appreciate it. I got a special one for you today. I'm excited about this lady on the screen, Elysia. She is the new Arbiter Lord. That's right, new Arbiter Lord. She is the epic counterpart to Praetus. She is not on global servers yet, but she is coming at some point in the near future. Moonton let us content creators know that we were free to go ahead and release some information on Elysia. I know that you guys have seen some stuff from other folks. I do want to try to give up my breakdown of all of her skills and try to show you exactly what her skills kind of look like in actual gameplay right now. So very excited about Elysia. She's not Praetus. Just gonna throw that disclaimer out, but she is damn good. And this is going to be a video that is going to be breaking down her skills. However, I am going to be putting out another video by the end of the weekend where I am going to be doing a damage test comparing Elysia to Praetus and just really kind of trying to see how much are we giving up by going with Elysia. They are similar in some ways, but functionally, they are different heroes. I mean, Praetus is obviously a mage. Elysia is a anti-air fighter, which we don't have very many of in the game. So I am super excited to be adding her to the mix along the likes of Arrogance and Ymir and all these other heroes. And she may not be damage-wise as potent as they are, but she brings a lot to the table, and I am super excited. Let's get into her skills. So I think the best place to start is by taking a look at her basic attributes here. And we're going to start with her attack range, which is the standard anti-air fighter range that you do see on like Arrogance, Ymir, Zillitu, those kinds of heroes. Basically, she gets 3 tiles directly in front of her, as well as 2 tiles on either side. And this is significant for a number of reasons, because one, we don't get a lot of anti-air fighters. There's just not that many of them in the game, especially functional ones that can do the kinds of things that she does. She does have a measure of AoE damage. She does do true damage. It's a lot of things that are going to make her compelling in like a GVG environment. And the other thing is that while we get so many fighters in this game, we don't get many with an extended range. Even a 2-tile range is kind of a rarity these days. And I'm thinking of, you guys have heard me bemoan this because I want to use a lot of these new heroes that come out with really powerful skill sets like Kagiri and like Twyla. And I want to use them in GVG and I'm not able to because they only have a 1-tile range. You can't sit them behind a tank and have them attack the units that are in front of the tank. Not an issue here. She is going to be able to be used in the same fashion as like an Arrogance or a Ymir or anything like that. She does have that extended range. It is really great. Another thing I should mention here, when she does use her ultimate, the range expands. So she has a 3x4 range there, just like all those other units that I mentioned. When they use their ultimates, they get that full 3x4 range, which is wonderful. Looking at her actual basic attributes here, her HP is at 15,659, which is on the lower side when compared to legendary heroes, but is, considering she's an epic, is pretty solid, I think, at the end of the day. You could stack some HP percent substats on her maybe and get that up a little bit higher. That might be a little bit more important if you're using her in a competitive environment, as opposed to like an Arrogance or somebody like that, but very, very solid in that functionality or whatever. I don't know what I'm talking about. But the thing I really want to focus on here is her attack, which is at 4325, which you might think is not all that high for a fighter, but you got to consider the context. She's an anti-air fighter. On top of that, she is a magic dealing anti-air fighter, which means that you need to be comparing her to units like Valkyra. You need to be comparing her to units like Magda to a certain degree. Really, there are not a lot of high attack, magic dealing fighters in the game. The only one that I can really think of offhand is what's his name, Uridan, who's terrible, but he does have like 6,500 base attack, and she is not that obvious. She doesn't have that much attack, but she has basically legendary level attack, especially when you consider right here, you are going to be able to get her all the way to A5 very easily because we're using Epic Stolsons. You're going to get another 200 attack on top of this, meaning that her base attack is going to be at 4525. That is really competitive, and it is very important because she also is going to be doing a lot of true damage, which is wholly dependent on how much attack you can stack. So really do love that they built her in what I think is the right way to be a really compelling unit to use. Really great to see. Her defense is kind of high. 2883 is relatively high. I don't know that she's going to be tanking anything, especially with that kind of middling HP that she's got, but nice to see that there's a decent amount of defense on her. I don't even know how to compare the magic resist, honestly, but cost is something that we do need to talk about, because 23 cost is a lot. It is one of the higher fighter costs in the game, but she is an Arbiter. Praetus is a 25 cost unit. She's 2 less than that, so I guess that is something that they're the epic's not going to cost as much, I guess, or something like that, but it is significant. And I think mainly the place this is going to be most significant is going to be in Arena, more than likely. If you want to bring her in lieu of Praetus in Arena, you are still going to have to bring in like Cyrene or something like that, some other cost generator in order to make that work. All this other stuff is relatively standard. 2.6 second attack interval, I think, is the exact same as every other anti-air fighter in the game, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm missing one, but that is the norm, is that 2.6 second attack interval. Crit damage, attack speed, all that kind of jazz is all very, very similar to what you're going to see on the other anti-air fighters. So amongst her peers, she is very, very similar. Let's go take a look at her skills. All right, before we talk about any of her other skills, we got to talk about the Lord skill, right? Because that is Praetus' defining attribute. That is the thing that makes him so special. It's that rangeless true damage, that second ultimate button, basically, that you get with him, where you can just spam out true damage all the way across the map if you want. It is just incredible. And we would hope that if you were going to be using, this is an Arbiter skill and not a Praetus-specific skill. And I'm happy to report that that is the case. She does have the same skill. It is slightly less dense, not as good as Praetus's, but mechanically it works the exact same way, and that is wonderful to see. So let's go through her skills, her Lord skill, excuse me, and then I'm going to go over to Praetus. We're going to compare the two so that we have an idea of what we're giving up by using her instead of him. So increases faction team members' basic attributes by 10%. That is the standard epic bonus versus the legendary 15% bonus that you get with any legendary Lord in the game. As far as the divinity, the lightning of truth, which is that rangeless true damage that I was just talking about, gains 1 divinity every 15 seconds with a cap of 3. You can consume all divinity to cast lightning of truth. And then you've got these 3 different versions, because you can let this, if you let it stack up to 3, then you get different versions of this. Or I guess I should say, depending on the number of stacks that you have, you are going to get different versions of this true damage cast. So Verdict of Truth 1, at 1 divinity stack, you are going to, for every 1 faction team member present, deal true damage equal to 70% of the Lord's attack to random enemies 2 times. So basically multiply the number of Arbiters on the field by 2, and that is how many true damage strikes of 70% true damage are going to go out, which is awesome. Verdict of Truth 2 is functionally similar, except it's 105% damage. It's going to hit 3 times per Arbiter on the field, and on top of that, you're going to get stunned. So like, if that wasn't enough, you're going to stun every unit that's hit. So cool. And then finally, final verdict. Again, you're going to multiply the number of Arbiters on the field by 4 this time. It's going to do 140% damage each time it hits, and you're going to get stunned for 0.5 seconds as well for every unit hit. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy overpowered. One thing I do want to note before we shift over to Praetus and take a look at the values for him, she does have in her talent, I believe it's in her talent, or maybe it's in her ultimate, I'm not sure, but either way, we'll take a look when we get over to the skills. But every time she casts her ultimate, she basically increases all of her damage by 10%, up to 3 times. So she's going to get, after 3 ultimate casts, or on the 3rd ultimate cast, I should say, a 30% damage bonus across the board. That includes her true damage that she does with this lightning of truth ability. So I do want to kind of note that. I do believe that it is additive and not multiplicative. I'm going to do some testing again over the weekend, so I will see if I can't hone in on that and figure out whether or not it is additive or multiplicative. I'm going to operate under the assumption that it is additive, though, because that is how it works more often than not in this game. So I think that is likely the case, but because it is true damage, it should be pretty apparent to see, because there's no mitigation there, exactly how it works. You should be able to do some quick math when I am doing my testing and figure that out for sure. But for right now, we'll operate under the assumption that it is additive. So that would mean that if you're adding 30% on all these values, that Verdict of Truth 1 is going to do 100% damage each time it hits. Verdict of Truth 2 is going to do 135% damage. And then Final Verdict is going to do 170% damage each time it hits. So that is all for her Lord skill. But let's take a look at Praetus. As I said, he is going to do 15% basic attributes instead of the 10% that she does, so that is a significant difference. As far as the way that the divinity stacks work, It's the exact same as her, so we're not even going to touch on that. We want to look at the values of these different true damage. So Verdict of Truth 1 is 100% damage. That is going to be after she casts 3 ultimates. That's the exact same as hers. So the first one is right on point. But then we start to see some differences as we go up here. So Verdict of Truth 2 for Praetus is 150% versus the 135% that we would see with her. And then Final Verdict is 200% versus the 170% damage that we would see from her as well. So significantly more there. And then there is this little added wrinkle, just a little thing at the end here, basically saying Sacred Blessing, all damage plus 50% for everybody. All the Arbiters, anyway, I should say. And that includes the true damage. So it is a significant drop-off. There is no doubt about it. And also, there is the fact that this is going to buff everybody who's an Arbiter on the field as well with 50% damage for 8 seconds. She doesn't do that. And that is not insignificant by any means. It doesn't make her bad. It doesn't mean she's not worth using. But it is going to be a drop-off relative to Praetus. All right, let's take a look at the rest of her skills. And I think obviously the first place we got to start here is with her talent. So basic attack restores 2% rage. Every ultimate unleashed permanently increases damage by 10%. So it is on her talent. Is that 10% increase? It stacks up to 3 times. True damage, as it says, is included in that. So it is a flat 30% damage increase across the board, which is just beautiful. I do love it, especially when you consider the fact that she is going to be restoring 2% rage per basic attack, which again is kind of mirrors Praetus. Praetus gets 3% rage on his basic attack when he gets his A1. So that she gets it for free as the talent. It's not quite as good. It's 2% versus 3%, but she is going to be able to cycle through her ultimate very, very quickly, and we do love that for sure. Basic attack, magic attack, deals 110% magic damage to one enemy, including airborne units. That is pretty standard. It's, it is what it is. Magic damage, airborne units, anti-air fighter, love it. I do love that. I think it's just, there's not enough of them in the game, and the extended range on it is wonderful. I really, if you can't tell, I'm pretty excited about this hero. Let's go over to GR1. I want to talk about the ultimate there. I'm going to show you what it looks like. All right, let's talk about the ultimate here. So I do have her in GR1. She does do, it's not direct AoE damage, but I did want to just show, because there is an AoE component to her ultimate, I did want to show her in a AoE setting so you can kind of see how this functions. So Thunder's Bind, manual ultimate, 900 rage cost when fully skilled up, 600 initial rage. It does have a 16-second duration. Casts 1 Lightning Orb, and Lightning Orb bounces up to 10 times among the hero and nearby enemies, dealing 200% damage and inflicting 1 stack of Radiant Erosion upon the enemy hit. Radiant Erosion is amazing. It is it gets better the higher defense of the enemies that you're attacking. So in an instance like this, where the enemies have really high physical damage resistance, this is really, really good. But after she casts 1 Lightning Orb at the enemies, after that, basic attack will additionally deal 60% true damage based on the hero's attack. That's, again, why her having that high base attack that I was harping on at the beginning of this video, that is why that is so important. So really, really love that. She gets some added bonuses from her Awakening on the ultimate, which is great. I'll go over those when we get to the Awakenings, but you can kind of see them on the screen right now. I did want to bring you in here for a couple reasons. One, I want to show you the true damage going out. You can see the Praetus kind of divinity skill going off right now, which is wonderful. And I did want to show you this ultimate cast. So here goes the ball. You can see this like blue, it almost looks like a ball of water just bouncing around to all these different units. You can see this is GR 121 right now. So not crazy damage, but pretty solid damage. We are, there are no other Arbiters on the field right now. She doesn't have any inspiration or anything like that, but decent damage. And of course, we're also dropping Radiant Erosion on all of these enemies that get hit by that ball as well. So that is the ultimate in a nutshell. Let's go take a look at the rest of her skills. As an epic, she does have a bit of a truncated kit, but she's got a couple other skills that I do want to go over, and then we'll talk about Awakenings. This Divine Might is huge, right? So again, I know I just said it, but I'm going to say it again. This is part of the reason why her base attack being high is really important, why you're going to want to stack as much attack on her as humanly possible. Divine Might increases attack by 30% during the ultimate. The boost becomes permanent. Oh my god, 30% extra attack permanent after unleashing the ultimate for 3 times. And this just kind of doubles down on the fact that this is kind of a ramp-up hero. Now, she's going to do decent damage to begin with anyway, but she's not really going to peak until she's cast her ultimate 3 times. Luckily for you, she's going to cycle through because of her talent where she restores rage on basic attack. She is going to cycle through the ultimate very, very quickly. So she's going to get up to max stacks. It's not like a Twilight situation where she's got to cast her ultimate like 10 times before she's going to be able to really peak. This is going to cast after only 3 times, and she has a lot of rage regen, so this is going to be relatively quick to get up to max stacks. But once she casts it the 3rd time, she's going to get that 30% attack boost permanently, which is amazing. Really love that. She is an Arbiter, and she does get an Arena passive as a result. And it is a damage passive, which is great. Oftentimes you see a cost one. That is not the case here, thankfully, because I think as an epic, extra damage is really going to help her out. Increases damage in the arena by 15%. That is wonderful. Love that. If you are an arena person, I'm not really personally, but you know, there are compelling rewards there. So I would like some other options in there. I'm hoping she's gonna help me do a little bit better on some of the game modes. But you know, we'll have to wait and see on that. I do think she's gonna be really solid in a lot of places, though. Let's go take a look at the Awakenings. All right, let's talk about her Awakenings. And they start with a banger. This A1 is just really, really good. So when Lightning Orb hits the hero, doubles the damage of Lightning Orb. So the next bounce is going to double the damage, and it's going to inflict 2 stacks of Radiant Erosion instead of 1. So you basically get double damage, not just on the actual direct damage, but also on the damage over time effect from Radiant Erosion, which does 2 damage. So that is really, really nice. So Lightning Orb does 200% damage, I believe. Yep, so it's going to be 400% on the next bounce after it hits her, and then you're going to get double damage on Radiant Erosion. Beautiful, beautiful Awakening. Really love that. A1. A2, pretty standard, plus 200 base attack. Really nice. Again, I've said it a bunch of times. I'm going to say it again. Stack attack on her. You need it for the true damage, and this is only going to help you, especially because she is an epic, and her attack is a little on the low side. Again, not especially based on magic damage dealing anti-air fighters, but still, it's not like 6k or something like that. So any extra attack you can get is going to be nice. And again, you should be able to get her awakened all the way up to A5 almost immediately when you get her, because Epic Soul Stones, she's going to be worth using those on. So definitely, if you're a developed account, I've got like 30 of them sitting around. I don't have anybody to awaken anymore, really. So they just kind of pile up. But even if you're not, I would say this is a hero that you're going to want to awaken immediately, especially if you don't have Praetus. A3, when Lightning Orb hits the hero, restores 10% HP, so a little self-healing, and dispels debuffs from the hero. So the first part is nice. I like that self-healing. It's not really reliable, is the only thing I will say about it, because the bounces are random, and you don't know when it's going to hit her, but it's an added bonus, and I do like a little self-healing, a little bit more durability from her. And then the second part, I don't know where you're going to use that, really. It dispels debuffs from the hero when it does hit her. That is nice. The only place that I can really think of that this might be useful is in Guild Boss 2. If you want to use her on the poison phase, she might be able to dispel herself without being in range of a cleanser, like an Elwyn or a Midon or something like that. So it might be nice to be able to do that as well. The A4 is plus 25 attack speed, which synergizes nicely with her talent, restoring 2% rage every basic attack that she performs. So extra attack speed is going to mean more rage, means more ultimates, means getting to that peak damage quicker after 3 ultimates. I do like that. This is kind of similar. I think there's a number of piercers, I think, that have this. In particular, epic piercers, like I think Idril and maybe like Theowin or something like that, have 25 attack speed on the A4. It's kind of cool. I like it. Definitely more useful than some of the ones that I see. And then the A5, this is a big one as well. Lightning Orb's bounce count plus 6. So Lightning Orb normally has a bounce count of 10. Once you do get her to A5, she is going to do 16 bounces. So it's individual instances of single target damage, but the effect is basically AoE damage, and that is wonderful to see. Really, really do love that. I think it synergizes nicely with her divinity stacks as well. Honestly, I think that this is going to be a phenomenal hero. I really, really like her. I think that she's going to be in the conversation for best epic in the game. I think if you're talking about damage dealers, I think she is going to be the best epic damage dealer in the game by a significant margin. I think she is going to compete with a lot of legendary units. I will be settling that later in the weekend when I do put out my damage testing video, where I'm going to be comparing her to Praetus, and I'll probably also do some comparison to say like Arrogance and some of the other anti-air fighters, so we can figure out kind of where she ranks in that hierarchy. But I think she is the only one that does true damage right now. Maybe Arrogance does. Well, actually, you know what? I take that back. Zilla 2, I know, does some. I think Arrogance might do some. I know that Numera, who is yet to be released on Global, she does true damage. So there are a number of them. But I don't think anybody's going to be doing as much as she does. And that is really important, I think, especially when you're talking about higher end content in this game. She is going to be relevant, despite the fact that she is an epic. As far as like best epic in the game and things like that, I mean, I'm sure that Dolores and Laurel and maybe Vortex and they may have something to say about it. But I think as far as epic damage dealers, she is going to be the best one out there. So really looking forward to snagging her. I don't know when she's coming, but as I think I said at the beginning of this video, we did get word from Moonton, the content creators, that we could produce content on her, which means relatively soon. So I would guess either sometime in early December or potentially maybe right before Thanksgiving or something like that, so in a week or two. But she is going to be coming soon, and we all are going to have, even if we didn't spend ridiculous amounts of money on a Praetus banner, and we don't have Praetus, we are going to be able to get her, which is just really great to be able to kind of use some of the Arbiter units and be able to use them in the Arbiter faction. So I am really looking forward to that. Thank you all so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please do like and subscribe if you did enjoy this video. I will catch you all next time.